It's casual, not formal. It's hosted by Rory Penland. Oh, and Renee in tow. It's time to start the show. 1, 2, 3, go!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to It's Casual. Your host and my co-host, Rory Penland. He's a little bit delayed, but he'll be coming in a few minutes. But that's okay because we have an amazing guest. We're gonna get such a treat. Everybody here, she's a crowd pleaser. She's a crowd favorite. Everybody loves her. Everybody knows her. She's been instrumental, pun intended, in my own life and career. And she's a hard worker. You've seen her. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's multi-talented. She's, of course, a chef. She's a poet. She's a performer. She's a musician. She does everything under the sun. I'm sure I'm leaving a lot out. But I think we should bring her on, and she's going to do some performance for you as well. And we're going to have some conversation. So let's get casual. Here is, everybody, Silvia on the ukulele.
Hi, Renee. Thank you for having me on It's Casual.
Yes.
Always an honor to be here with you.
We love having you. We absolutely love having you. And, I've known you for a while through this community, through all of the different communities, KMH, SBF, of course, Cosmos. And you've been such a brilliant light. We were just talking before we came live on air about the Galentine's Day Fest that you organized. I think that was we're 2 years deep into that. Is it 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years ago. And we actually, we had chatted online before, but that was our first time. We were trying to figure stuff out. And I remember it was like we were old friends. We couldn't stop giggling. We were just laughing so hard. And you're just the most amazing host. You always put everyone at ease. So I'm just so glad for this community and all the silver linings from the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, you're somebody that everybody loves just across the board, and
Aww.
you've gotten so much. You're so deep in the community, even face to face. You're very supportive of other people in the community. You not only perform yourself, but you're always there. You take amazing photographs, by the way, of different
Thank you.
performers, like Jeff Evans, of course, Chickens and Pigs, and you're always doing something to support the artist community. Why is art so important to you and your life journey?
Well, for me, I became a performer during the pandemic, so it really saves me. And it helped me connect the dots. People think I came out of nowhere, but actually, I have a background in creative writing, which I never used after I graduated from college. So when the pandemic hit and I met so many artists and Jonathan Phipps, who encouraged me to write poetry, and Jeff Evans, who encouraged me to start songwriting, it helped me connect the dots, and I never thought I would become either a songwriter or a poet. So being there to support other people has always been so important to me. And also, it's actually a lyric in one of my songs about being in the pit with all the cool kids, in the orchestra pit. So it's also just really fun to be with all the cool kids. So, it's been my pleasure to, be behind the scenes and, be with friends.
Yeah, that means a lot to me too. I'm a huge believer in teamwork, making the dream work, and creative collaboration for me is very significant. I really love getting inspired by other artists. When you talked about the cool kids, I always say that too, to like KMH and stuff. I always say, I can't believe the cool kids let me hang out with them. Were you a cool kid back in school? Did you
Oh,
feel like a
I
cool kid?
don't think so. Um, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Did you have a core group of friends? I know for myself,
Yeah, I
I
did.
was. You did?
But
Okay, you had
but
supportive
then
friends.
I traveled so much after college, so I kind of lost track of the core. But I always had my family. I come from a big Filipino family, so I
Mhm.
have lots of cousins. And now with social media, we're all over the world. But now with social media, they'll post pictures from Canada, from the Philippines, from all over.
Oh,
So it's been
yeah.
great.
And you are a traveler. You've been everywhere. Do you have some special places that are special in your heart?
Oh, well, what's special to me because I'm talking to you is the time that I got to play your camel song in front of camels. Remember
I
that?
I I can't believe it, and I wish we had the footage. I remember seeing it, but I still can't find the footage. But I tell people that story all the time. I don't know if you believe me, but you
Yeah.
literally played Cairo to a bunch of camels in
Camels,
the Middle East.
yeah. And they were kind of like hitting me in the neck, and because they're kind of ornery. They can be. So I thought, oh my God, I hope I don't get spit on or chewed up live
Oh my
in front of the
gosh!
camera. But yeah.
Did you get to pet them?
No, I didn't dare because they can bite you.
It's very scary. Yeah, they're huge, right? So, what
Yeah.
was the context and of that particular journey? I remember you were posting a lot on social
Oh, I
media.
was just visiting family there, and yeah, and I bring my ukulele everywhere. So everywhere we stopped, I would bring my ukulele, and it's become a kind of a part of my body. It's like I feel really naked when I don't have a ukulele or some instrument on me.
Mhm.
Um, because I'm a songwriter, so I'm always noodling, but I think it's really helped my mental health to be able to have something to hold on to. And sometimes when I'm working out ideas or how I feel about something, I'll have it. And I have my glasses on right now because I write all the time, and so it takes me a while to memorize my songs. But I have a couple songs in front of me that I wanted to be able to play for you.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, I have trouble memorizing too. Well, let me give you just one more question, and then we'll head into our first song. I
Okay.
want you talked a little bit about the pandemic, and I think a lot of people, given how proficient you are as an entertainer, are a little surprised when you say that you came to some of this just during the pandemic. What was the
Uh-huh.
impetus that inspired you and the bravery that it took to do that? Where does that come
Oh.
from?
Well, it was traumatic. The lockdown was traumatic. Nobody could go anywhere. So I happened to I talk about this all the time, but it really did transform my life. It was a 100 days project, and there was a subgroup for ukulele players. So there was like 5,000 ukulele players all over the world, just posting songs and keeping each other company. And I learned a lot from watching other people. But I heard songs that I never would have paid attention to from all kinds of genres. So I think the pandemic, because I had time given to me on a platter to do anything I wanted, whoever gets that.
Yeah,
Um, and then I had company too. Like you could have time, but then your friends don't.
right.
So like we were all together
Yeah.
in the void, and so that. And plus, I said, I was connecting the dots. I had a degree in creative writing and art history, but I never really did anything with it
Yeah.
after college. In fact, I took several career changes. I had been accepted to a film school
Wow.
in University of Rochester, and I turned that down. And then I thought, what do I want to do? I thought, oh, I want to be a graphic designer. And then I thought, oh, I want to design cookbooks. But wait a minute, shouldn't I go to cooking school first? And so twists and turns.
Wow.
Um,
Oh, that
yeah.
film interest I can see when you're recording or when you're taking these photographs. Like I'm talking about of different artists. You have such a visual eye. So I didn't know that you also had applied to film school. That's very cool.
Yeah, I had not to do film, but to do literary studies, but it was at a film school, so I would have been connected to all of these filmmakers. So yeah, and then I have an art history background, so it's already kind of cinematic. Yeah.
Right, right. And I just wanted to do a quick shout out to that 100 Days project because that was one of the instrumental things that you did for me. I asked you how you were so confident on stage, and you said, well, actually, I learned that. And you talked about the 100 Days challenge, and you said to me, just get on stage, make yourself do it, even if you're scared. And by now, it's so cool because I took that to heart, and I always tell that story. I always say, well, it was Sylvia that told me to do that because if you do it enough, you can't be terrified forever. Eventually, you just
Yeah.
warm up to it.
So have you ever looked back at any? Have any of them popped up on your
Yeah,
like face? Yeah, isn't it
and I see the
amazing?
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference with the confidence. Confidence is so much of performing. It's
Yeah,
incredible to see the difference.
yeah, it just becomes something it's not scary because you've done it so many times. So then it's like, well, yeah, I'll just walk on stage and do the songs, off the
Yeah,
top of my head.
right.
And then you even learn how to roll with the punches when things don't turn out the way like
Yeah.
I was on stage and suddenly my tuning peg, I had gone through
Right.
sound check and then my tuning peg decided not to work all of a sudden. Um, and I remember asking, it was during a BLT fest, and I had said, does anyone have a screwdriver? And the one person that had a screwdriver, Julio Morales, thought I was joking. And I said, no,
Shout out
I re-.
Julio.
So, but by then, I had just learned to stay calm and I had just memorized one of my poems. So I did that. And luckily I had a backup ukulele. So while they were doing that, people, Mudcat and Bob Ross were looking for my ukulele. It was
Mhm.
exciting. I could see the green room. I could see them flinging aside the gig bags, looking for my. I think I talk about it being a ukulele needle in a haystack.
Yeah,
Um, but
that's
luckily,
a,
it's such a small size that they found it. And, I'm like, oh my
mhm,
God, it doesn't have a pickup like my other ukulele. And so
mhm.
Bob Ross grabbed the other microphone and stuck it in my sound hole. And like, okay, we're ready to go.
I love that because it's such a relatable story. All live performers always have a story like that, and we can all relate of the terror and the panic, and then the relief when it actually comes through. Um,
Yeah. By
I
then, I
found,
had done quite a lot of open mics and I'd had other things happen. Like
mm,
I fell on stage one time during a live stream and I was so embarrassed, but I survived. And after that, I never got nervous on stage again. So luckily, that happened before uh, the tuning peg incident. Um, but
right,
yeah,
incidents, yeah. Rory popped in, so did you want to do a song first, or do you want him to come on and?
yeah, I'll do a song and I
Okay,
found
then.
this. I haven't done this song in a long time. And I picked this song because it's a song that we all wrote together
All right.
called
Oh,
Night
excited! I'm
Swimming.
excited.
And this is how collaborative we are. So you, Renee, you had posted a photo of yourself when you were, 16 in a pool in Athens,
Mhm.
Georgia, in a hotel,
That's
a
right.
Best Western hotel.
Oh
And
yeah.
someone, who was it? Was it Michael Pierce?
Yep, and then
I,
Bob Ross and then JP all
yeah,
jumped on it, and a lot of different people
yeah.
jumped on it and
Well,
made it beautiful.
he had uh, vandalized your photo and put a shark in there.
I remember
so,
that little shark
so
fin.
I thought,
Yeah,
oh, how interesting, the idea of a mermaid and a shark going on their first date in a swimming pool. The
yeah.
idea of a shark and a mermaid, it's kind of like love can conquer.
Love conquers all, and that's a theme we'll talk about after the song because you
Yeah,
do a lot
so
about
people
that.
were posting
Hmm.
comments and I stuck all the comments together and wrote this song.
Yes.
It's called Night Swimming. Night swimming at a Best Western. Reserve a quiet mind makes me cry every single time. All the memories, the missed opportunities. Are you stealing my memories and diving head first into them? Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming with a mermaid. Night swimming with a shark. Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming with the moon. Sneak in with me and swim in the pool. Even if the new owners don't invite us, we could explain. You're my caregiver, I'm your pops. I'm sure they won't shoot us. The worst they could do is call the cops. Busted. Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming with a mermaid. Night swimming with a shark. Night swimming in the dark. Night swimming in the dark. And that was Night Swimming, co-written by me, Bob Ross, Jonathan Phipps, Michael Pierce, and Marcus Holt.
Yes, and I don't have the manipulation that Michael Pierce did, who's a fabulous artist, but I did find the original photo, and I'm putting it on the screen right now. That was the original photo for anyone who wants to know. And here's Rory Penland. He is ready to go, and he's here. So
yeah,
Rory
I think
Penland,
I don't know
everyone.
if you can see it, but he had
Yes.
put just shark fins.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's how he manipulated that original photo. So cool.
Even had time to throw on a new shirt.
Oh,
so
hey.
sorry for being late. I got kept at work, unfortunately, and but I'm here now, and I'm so happy to be here now.
So nice to see you. Thanks
Yes.
for rushing over here. Yes.
Well, and again, fond memories rush back from, when I went to Atlanta and I met Tom Cheshire for the first time. I met you.
That was
I met Phipps for
amazing.
the first time. I met Jeff Evans and Bob Ross. That was a wonderful time at Wuxtree Records.
Yeah.
I love those photos.
And Troy Moore, I actually got to hang out with him for a while and do some music, which was really nice. And I wanted to ask you about your poetry. And you have an event that you do once a year, right? Or a poetry fest.
Right.
On Kimono My House. And
yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
It's called the PBJ Festival, and it's PBJ for the PBJ sandwich, and I had envisioned it as like the poetry counterpart to the BLT show.
Yeah.
And with so many songwriters in Kimono, songwriting and poetry kind of go together. So it was mostly musicians. It's funny because I actually kind of reached out to to some published poets, and they didn't know who the heck I was. But now I'm doing it again, and half the poets are published poets, including our own Jonathan Phipps, who has recently published.
Yes.
So that's amazing to
He's doing poetry on TikTok now.
Yeah. So that's how
what happened to Renee? Where is Renee? She
Oh,
should be
oh,
up here with us.
I'm here.
yeah,
I'm definitely here.
she's making
We
the
talked
screen
about
look,
this last night.
she's making it look dynamic by always
Yeah,
shifting
switching
things. Yeah.
around. I love doing that. Making it very
Yeah. So poetry and songwriting kind of go hand in hand, and yeah. So this will I'm about to do my third festival, and I
Mhm,
learned a lot being during doing festivals virtually. I
mhm.
don't think I, as in the real world before the pandemic, I could have just started a festival and have people get excited and want to join in, but um, being able to learn the ropes of putting a festival together online has really helped do things now, because now I have a media sponsor, I have a venue. So being able to have a bookstore as a venue has given a lot of gravitas to this poetry event. And then a mix of published poets, and then really amazing unpublished poets who are just so dynamic and finding other ways, like Jonathan on TikTok. And I'm not a published poet, I will be, but right now I'm published on TikTok and Instagram. So it's a different world, right? And it's just so amazing to see how people connect the dots in their own way.
Well, Renee was talking about confidence earlier. I love the way you just said, I will be.
I
That's
will be
good. That's
published.
good.
And I
Yes, you
love
will
that
be. You will
confidence.
be.
It's all that
Yeah,
there's
it's
power
in
in
the
the words
works.
you use.
Yeah.
So, you just started playing the ukulele recently, right? Am I correct?
About 5 years ago, I was in a informal mom band, and we
Okay.
would meet, but mostly eat and drink. Um, but then when the pandemic happened and I was in the 100-day group, I was doing it consistently, and seeing other people from all skill sets playing this instrument was so motivating, especially watching people who were just uh, newcomers, to
Hmm.
see how much passion they had. It didn't matter, they didn't have skill set, but they were passionate, so everyone had something to offer. And
Yeah.
then there were actually performers who were out of work, so then they were doing this 100 days project, just just to keep occupied and keep their axis sharp. And that would be like, wow, I didn't know you could do that on a ukulele. So it was just amazing. And then that was just the 100 days project. But then with Kimono and Socially Distance Fest, seeing other, uh, more performers, who did it for a living, to see them was just really amazing. So it seems like I accelerated so much faster because I was just, in this mindset of watching so much and performing. You know how kids can get good so fast? Well, yeah, because they're holed up in their room and doing it for 8 hours a day. So, yeah, that's kind of what happened to me.
I've seen a lot of really interesting stuff on your Facebook page, on your feed. You were into culinary. You were into gardening. Uh, you work with children. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of interesting. What are some of your biggest passions for those who might not know you as well as we do?
Well, my day job, I'm a chef. I trained with a James Beard chef. Oh, and I'm seeing I am seeing all these friends popping up. I see John Phipps and Jeff Evans and Monica, and I think I missed someone. So just shout them out. I'm so glad everyone's here. Um, but yeah, so that's my day job, and yeah, you gotta take care of your day job. So I'm a chef. I own a boutique catering company, and
Mhm.
then trained in fine dining. But yeah, I write, and I also write a lot of poetry, and I'm a certified master gardener. People say, wow, you have so much. But, there was a time when I had a lot of doubt. And I thought, I had a kid, and I thought, oh my God, how can I even have a job when I have a kid, and, all this. So I'm like, maybe I need to do a career pivot. So then I took training to be a certified master gardener because I thought, oh, there's no way I can keep being a chef anymore. I can't do the hours. I don't want to do the Mother's Day anymore. Standing for 12 hours a day is not something I can do anymore.
Mm.
So I thought there would be a pivot, and then the universe kind of, saw me, and someone approached me who knew that I was a chef, kind of stay-at-home chef, and said, "Hey, how'd you like a job at this doing farm to table for a preschool in our neighborhood, my neighborhood?" So yeah, sometimes you take a pivot, but you keep putting yourself out there, and people find you. You keep putting yourself out there and just have faith that the right people will find you, or just by putting yourself out there, things will change. But yeah, it really does help.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you like to play some more for us?
Um, I think I would like to read a poem.
Okay. Well, this is your
And
show, so you can do whatever you like.
okay, this poem is a poem I wrote for Renée Yaworsky, and I always say it's for Renee every time I recite it. And it's
I just wanted to show you. This is exciting. Thank you so
because early on oh God, I don't know why I'm tearing up. Early on during the pandemic, none of us could even like read comments while we were performing because it was all so new. And Renee was so courageous, and she was trying to do something on multiple platforms, and she went down swinging. She went down, but she went down swinging. She was trying everything she possibly could. And it was really a lot of technology for early on. And so I remember, if you don't mind me saying, you were so crushed because you didn't figure it out, but we were all so impressed. You just were trying so hard. And
much.
so I wrote this poem for her, and it's called Courage Corsage.
Thank you. I remember this.
A flower from a bucket vendor, a coffee with a friend, a message when you're low, lifts you when courage ebbs. Courage isn't where it's at. Is it really what you need? Maybe the answer, my friend, is first to stand for what you believe. Courage begins when you stake your turf, even if you're on your knees. Things can get pretty ugly in the dirt. Why not plant flowers in the hurt? When in time the flowers bloom, wear the corsage around your wrist. If doubt ever tries to rob you, punch it with your effing fist.
Thank you. And I do remember this. And this is all of the tech problems, as I'm trying to figure out how to go live on and do live internet, interactive television shows. I felt like I was letting Dennis down, Dennis Tar down. I felt like I was letting him down. And I was really crushed. And CJ Peters, who's in the audience, came on and was very helpful. I remember very much. And you writing this was a big turnaround for me. And I never let technology bother me again. I just kept going back to this courage corsage, and
Yeah.
I'll cry later because I don't want to mess up my mascara, but I honestly, that was a big deal for me when you did that. And you're somebody who integrates your personal life and your creative life into your work. I love that. You write songs and poems for people that you love, especially like Machete Mama, of course, is another big one. But I can't tell you how grateful I am for that.
Yeah, and you were just you felt crushed, but we were all so impressed, and I think that helped me on stage too. When my tuning peg, I'm like, well, okay, just keep going and stay calm. And so many people came up to me after and said, wow, you made me think, like, if that happened to me, what would I do? But you stayed calm. Um, But I also wanted to say, the aftermath of having written this poem, that this is a poem I like to do when I'm in a poetry lineup, um, with published poets, who do these long free verse poems, and they've got all these accolades, and here's some of my poems. They sound like they rhyme, and they're kind of Dr. Seussy, and they're about flowers and, pretty things. So this poem, kind of starts out like this Hallmark card, like, this pretty flower,
Mhm.
courage, come on, rah, rah, rah. And then it just kind of punches you in the end. And I could just see like all these poets, they're just like their jaws are dropping. And it's always all the women in the audience. They're all like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about you is that you are beautiful and powerful, and you also know how to surprise. And I think that a big part of your appeal is that you know how to surprise. You're multifaceted and you know how to come out with that 1-2 punch when people least expect it. I know it shocks me every time I hear you perform it, even though I know it's coming. I'm shocked.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's and I like to give the context of the poem when I do perform it. I say, "Oh, it's for my friend Renee," and early on in the pandemic, because that's something everyone can relate to.
Mhm.
Like nobody could read comments while they were trying to do their stuff, So
Yeah,
yeah, it
Yeah.
was so relatable.
it is. Yes. Thank you, Sylvia. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry.
You can go ahead
Yeah.
and cry. It's okay.
We're among friends. We can all cry.
Wow, that kind of got me. I didn't think I was gonna cry. Oh God, I hate that.
I know. I hate it too. I hate it too.
Now, is that the first time you've performed it in front of her? I mean, with her being on the screen with you?
um,
I think
no,
maybe.
yeah, I have posted it before,
Right.
but I think it's the first time reading it to you.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
big. So that was a big moment, actually. And I
Oh, I'm
remember,
reading CJ Peters' comments. Yeah, there was a big learning curve to this stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no
it really
kidding.
was. And CJ always would come in, and he's so brilliant with technology, and he would always swoop in, and he was always like this hero. He still is, who saves the day. He's just such a positive, and Sylvia, you as well have that positive energy. The world is just craving positivity right now. There's so much negativity in the world, and
Yeah.
what I think, what are you drawing on, Sylvia, for your positivity? Where does that come from?
Good
I
question.
just, I know what it feels like, to just like, oh, what am I doing? So, I just have been through a lot. So I feel like I have a lot to draw from because I was so bad at so many things.
Mm,
Yeah. Like, I was going to give up on my chef career because I thought, oh, how am I going to do this? I can't do this with a kid. Um,
mm,
yeah, so yeah, I just feel like I have just been there before, so I know what it feels like. And also, being in this, 100 Days project and seeing so many people do their first open mic virtually and in real life. And I'm like, yeah, I remember how that felt. I was nervous as heck and I was
mhm.
horrible. So those are the people like, yeah, you want to keep cheering them on because, you want them to keep going because they could be the very person that's going to change the world. They could
Right.
come up with that one viral song that makes people like, want to keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You never
So I've been
know
there.
unless you try it. Yeah, and you're this really like a spokesperson for just doing it. Just get yourself, like you always say, put yourself out there, take these risks, and you never know who it's going to resonate with, and you never know how your life is going to change. But one thing we know is if you don't put yourself out there, you've made a decision not to progress. So it's always better to just go forward and put yourself out there. I'm interested how you found a way to balance motherhood with all of the amazing things that you do in all your different careers.
Oh, I stay pretty focused. I don't um I just I do my work and I guess the short answer is that I've married my life, I just do the things that spark joy, and the things and the friends. Oh yes, I'm a mom. And my son plays guitar. He's 13. But oh
Wow.
yes, so that he my son was part of why I learned how to finger pick, because it would take him so long to go to sleep that I would just finger pick in the dark. And that's the best way to learn, is through muscle memory and through your hearing, and not looking at your, instruments so much. So just finger picking in the dark, for him, really helped me quite a bit. But anyway, your question was about how I do it all, and I do really just streamline quite a lot. And luckily, I have my own company, my own business. So I don't think I could work for anyone anymore. So, um, yeah, right. And
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
yeah, so I have my own company and catering company. So I write my menus, and then actually, if I know I've got a big event or a big gig, I make sure that the day before and the day after is like, Hawaiian roll sandwiches or something really easy, you know. So yes, so that's what I do. I prioritize stuff, and it's funny because um, I couldn't believe when people, every interview, I get asked that quite a lot. And I think, wow, don't people realize that once you put yourself out there in the world as what you want to be, it's like walking through an airport, a busy airport, to catch your flight. People aren't going to stop you from, they won't, you just find your way to weave in and out, and no one stops you, and you get to your gate. And how do you get on your flight? You have your things lined up, your ducks lined up in a row, you got your ticket, you knew what time you had to be there, you got to the right gate. So I mean, that's what I've done. I've just decided I'm gonna board that plane, that music plane, and I'm gonna get everything lined up in a row. And no one's gonna stop me, because I've got that look, like I've got a flight to catch. So um, I think that that's what I've
Got a
done.
show to catch.
Yeah. You do what you have to do, and if it doesn't work out, you reroute, you figure out, some other way to get there, but you get there eventually.
Right.
But yeah, Renee was talking about putting yourself out there. You never know who's gonna see it, how it's gonna change your life. And CJ Peters in the comments said, it was because of all these live streams that people were doing that this whole community came together. The Kimono My House, the SDF, the Cosmos, it all came together. We all became friends because we all decided to jump in and do that at the same time. And
Yeah.
some of
Yeah,
us
and
later than
the
others,
pen
but
and paper cafe that John started.
well,
That's where I started writing poems. Um, yeah, so that was really all, everyone all doing it together.
that's right. Phipps did mention that before, that he was your inspiration to start writing poetry. I remember
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah, I was just doing it for fun at first, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try different. So basically, when I started writing poems, I thought, oh, I'm gonna try different things. I'm gonna try a haiku. I'm gonna try a tanka, which is a haiku with 2 extra lines. I'm gonna try, 10-word poems. I'm gonna try, I've done a lot of rhyming, which kind of makes sense when you're a songwriter, because it helps to have rhyming verses. But
Mhm.
then I thought, oh, I'll do a couple of free verses and see how that goes. So I kind of did, it was kind of like, instead of going back to school, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do this and just see.
Unless you're
Yeah.
REM, then you don't rhyme anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, the poetry is lovely. The seeing you doing musical events is wonderful. I'm so happy to see all the posts that you've been posting, that you've been getting a lot of performance, a lot of gigs. Um, uh, Again, if you want to play something for us, or if you want to read us another poem, you're more than welcome. This is your hour.
Okay, let's see. Well, I would like to read, since I just talked about the different kinds of poems. So when I'm in a poetry lineup and there's like these published poets that are amazing. I like to do courage corsage because that's, it kind of gets them thinking like, who is she? Why is she doing this like hallmarky, poem? This is another poem, and it's a 10-word poem. And short poems, you don't usually read them in lineups. Um, but this is a 10-word poem, and oh, thank you, CJ. And John Phipps taught me this. So it's a 10-word poem. So the first line is one word, the second line is 2 words, the third line is 3 words, and the fourth line is 4 words. So altogether, it's 10 words. And so try telling a story in 10 words. And Hemingway was famous for doing this. But this one is called Overdue, and it's 10. 10. Okay, 10. Overdue. Library book. At lover's apartment. But we broke up.
That is brilliant.
There
I
you
love
go.
that. It's a drama and a comedy all in 10 words.
So much in those 10 words.
Yeah, that is kind of a hallmark of what I do. I don't like because my life has been so full of twists and turns. So I don't like my art to be like land in the typical spot because that's not how my life went. And so, yes, people always laugh after that one. But maybe I'll do a song now. This is another example of how I like to tell stories, but maybe land in a different place. So this one is called The Scorpion and the Frog. And it's based on a folk tale. And it's based on a common folk tale about a scorpion and the frog. And if you don't know that folk tale, it's a scorpion is trying to get across a river, and she sees this frog, and tells the frog, "Can you help me cross the river?" And the frog says, "No, I don't want to do that. You're a scorpion. You're gonna bite me and kill me." And the scorpion says, "No, I won't do that." And the frog says, "Okay, I'll help you cross the river." And then disaster. So here's my blues version of that story. Scorpion and the Frog. Once upon a time, there was a scorpion and a frog. They were creatures of the water. They were creatures of the land. They had a lot in common. And they were fast friends. Also, they were in love. These two met at the bottom of a well. How they got there, it's hard to tell. But when they both started singing, the echo of their song coming out of that well drew the whole village out, and they were saved by a bucket ride out of hell. They were creatures of the water. They were creatures of the land. They had a lot in common. And they were fast friends. Also, they were in love. One day, the scorpion turned to the frog and said, "I'm tired and I'm hungry.
Okay, so the
Cliffhanger.
end was the same.
It's a cliffhanger.
Maybe.
People used to share that story with me all the time. And again, at the end, of course, has the scorpion stinging the frog, and the frog is like, "But I trusted you," and the scorpion's like, "Well, I'm a scorpion. It's what I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah, it's my nature. But the
It's in
question
my
I
nature."
have
There you
is,
go.
can love change you, or does inherent nature prevail?
What do you think, Sylvia? I
See,
think
that
about that all the
women
time.
always think they can change you.
What do you think? What do you think?
I don't know, but I can say this. My birthday's in November, so I'm a Scorpion.
That's right, Scorpio. That's right. My rising sign is Scorpio. So that's apparently like I don't know if that's my hidden part or something. It's been explained to me. I can't remember, but I do have a Scorpio somewhere in my horoscope. And yeah, I think about that all the time. If people change, if they don't change. I know that love definitely has healing properties. A lot of your creative work, Sylvia, deals with love and these questions, and you don't hit everyone over the head with it. You kind of just inspire thought and question, and it's a good question to have. Whether I think, sometimes we do overcome our nature, but does our nature always come back up to bite us, literally? Hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting song because people tend to project an ending based on where they're at.
Right. Right. Their own experience. It's interactive. Like a lot of your art is, I think great art tends to be interactive where someone can come back to a piece of art over their lives, over their life, and actually interpret it differently depending on their current circumstances. Just like you said, like if I were to hear that 10 years from now or 10 years before now, what would I think? I would have a different response because I'm a part of your art.
Oh,
It's an interesting analogy that love can hurt us too.
Mm.
Yeah, we
That's
must
right. People are asking for
be careful.
Passiflora incarnata. We have some requests here.
oh, how much time do we have?
As much time as you like,
We love
Oh,
you,
okay.
dear.
Yeah, so this one is
right, Renee?
Oh yeah, definitely. We love you.
so I'm a certified master gardener, so I usually use the Latin names for plants, and this is the Latin name of the passion fruit plant, Passiflora incarnata. Passion fruit in the palm. Wait, let me see. Passion fruit in the palm of my hand. From a wait, sorry, passion. I'm mixing all my songs up. Passion fruit in the palm of my hand. From a Georgia vine, a passion plant. From an ancient garden that time forgot. Pick it, forget me, or forget me not. Passiflora incarnata, that's the Latin name. Passion fruit or maypop, it's still the same. Hot from the sun, the steamy fruit, and it's packing body heat and a head of juice. And it's hot, 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 hot. But in the south, in the Garden of Eden, there's kids running wild with barefoot freedom, playing bullseye with passion bombs, and staring down the barrel of that slingshot arm. Passiflora incarnata, that's the Latin name. Passion fruit or maypop, it's still the same. Hot from the sun, the steamy fruit, and it's packing body heat and a head of juice. And it's hot, 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 hot. It's a native plant from red clay soil, imposter oil. Snap from the vine, hot from the sun. It's deja vu on the tongue. Deja vu on the tongue. Wild and free, oh taste the seeds. It's a savory jubilee. There's juice exploding in my mouth. Oh my! Welcome to the South. Passion fruit for dessert, passion juice for my thirst, passion cream in my dreams, passion in my head. I'll make you scream. Passion fruit in the palm of my hand, passion fruit in the palm of my hand. Oh, 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 oh. And that Flora incarnata.
I love it.
A round of applause.
Thank you.
I love the ukulele work on that. It sounds like you're bending it at some point. It makes this cool little tinny noise sometimes, like this row row, and then like when you clamp down on it, and then you do the rhythm part. It's really cool. It's a very dynamic song.
Oh, thank you. I'm thank you for saying that because I like to show that the ukulele can be this percussive instrument um and yeah, I'm kind of playing against stereotype, although it's changing now. You know, people see me with a ukulele who've never seen me before and expect island tunes, and then I come out with a song like that, which is very islandy because it's talking about passion fruit.
There you go. Yeah.
I was watching the show as I was driving home from work at the beginning of the show, and it mentioned that you mentioned that you were from the Philippines, and I didn't catch which part of the Philippines that you were from because I've been there.
I was born in Manila.
Manila, okay, up
Yeah.
north. All right.
Yeah.
I went to Cebu and to meet a girl from Davao,
Oh.
and yeah, didn't work out, but.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was a very interesting trip. I loved the area. I loved there's Fort San Pedro is there, and they had the Lapu-Lapu shrine, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just a very interesting trip for me. And you are an art major,
Art history? Yeah.
Well, and you know how much I love art,
Mm-hmm.
so. What kind of art do you like the most? I mean, what is some of your favorites?
Well, when I tell people, they can't believe it, but I studied medieval art history, especially medieval books and architecture. But
Mm-hmm.
I was really fascinated by private devotional prayer books owned by women. And a lot of these
Wow.
books were written in the vernacular, not in the Latin.
Uh-huh.
So it was so interesting to see image after, these books always having images of the Virgin Mary as a constant reader because she because these women themselves were always reading
Mm-hmm.
uh, at home or with their tutors because they weren't allowed in the male universities.
Yeah.
So because these women had these private devotional prayer books that they were also teaching their children how to read in the vernacular, I think it really helped to spark the Reformation and not reading the scriptures in the Latin, but in this very profound way reading in the vernacular language because these women had this power within the household to teach their children how to read, not in the Latin, but in the local language. So anyway, that's yeah,
That's
right.
fascinating
Detour,
stuff. I
major.
mean, that's
Major detour, yeah, medieval studies.
I love history and I love church history, so I'm following
Mhm.
along. And I know the Philippines is a very Catholic country. It's a very vibrant
Yes.
country, very, very spiritual country. That when I was a little kid, by the just this is a major detour, but when I was a little kid, I always wanted to move to the Philippines because I thought, oh, I'd be around other Catholics all the time. It would be so great, you know. So anyways, I know about it through that, but I've always wanted to visit the Philippines for a variety of reasons. Everybody I've met who is from there is just absolutely incredibly warm and inviting and intelligent and socially just so emotionally and socially intelligent too. It's amazing. I really want to go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, they're one thing about the Philippines is karaoke is a real big thing there.
Oh yeah.
So you know
Oh
you
yeah.
watch all of these talent shows, you know, the big ones, you know, and it's
Mhm.
like they're always the Filipinos singing, they're belting. I'm like, oh wait, I didn't get that gene.
Sylvia, have you met Joe Gerzo? He's a I mean he was born in upstate New York like I am, but his family is Filipino and he's an amazing musician. He's in Athens, Georgia, and he comes to Atlanta all the time. He's an
Oh,
amazing singer-songwriter. I You'll definitely meet him if you haven't so far, but most
yeah,
people
that's been one of my things is to you know, musicians after a certain point they try to tour with their music, but I kind of feel like, you know, I need to conquer Atlanta first and then conquer, you know, different cities in Georgia before I start going off to wherever, New York or wherever.
Mhm.
Well, and I was going to
So,
ask you about the Atlanta connection. I mean, what brought you there? And again, you have a lot of good friends there. You have a lot of allies there. Tell us about your connection to Atlanta and how it started.
so I was you know, I was a chef. I trained in Hawaii, and then the chef I was working for was opening restaurants throughout the country, and so I helped open the restaurant in San Francisco, and then they said, "Oh, what about Atlanta?" And I thought, "Oh, Atlanta's a great city," you know, because he
Yes.
was opening so many restaurants, and I thought, "Oh, you know, I got to pick and choose which one I wanted to go to because I was part of the corporate team."
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, I'm fascinated by the South. You know, it's tropical there, so there's a lot of affinity to, you know, Hawaiian cuisine. You know, the backyard barbecues and the,
Hmm.
you know, you know, a lot of pork and pork barbecue. And I thought, wow, that's a lot like Hawaiian cuisine. Um, so I thought, wow, I'll check out Atlanta. So, and that was just gonna be a, you know, just a stop, and I was gonna move on to the next restaurant. But
Because it is a stepping stone for many artists. Again, my cousin who's out in L.A. He started in Miami and then went up to Atlanta for a while and then
uh-huh.
went out to L.A. And people go from Atlanta to New York. So yeah, I mean, it is artistically speaking, it is kind of a stepping stone to other places
Yeah, and
sometimes.
Atlanta has I'm learning there's just so many musical styles here.
Hmm.
And you know, there's the blues and then the bluegrass and then the hip hop and then the jazz scene. There's just so much here.
It's
Um,
kind of this microcosm of the entire universe because we have so many immigrants who end up in Atlanta. We have such rich cultural heritage there. It's incredible. I found the same thing. And then Athens, of course, is a little bit like that too, and also being a university town with a rich
yeah,
musical and artistic history. I mean, who everybody's heard of Athens, right? So
right.
I love Georgia too, and I used to go to Hawaii every single year for there were several years I was going every year. I love Hawaii. I've been to most of the islands except Maui, strangely enough. But I loved Hawaii so much. I would love to live there, except it's a little isolated, I think. But what were your experiences in
Very
Hawaii? And what do
expensive,
you love about it?
expensive
Very
paradise,
expensive too, yeah. But
expensive
Oh,
paradise.
what
I
do you
went to
love
Oahu
about it?
for a week.
Oh, Oahu is, yeah, where Waikiki and all that.
yeah. Well, I will tell you how I felt about living on an island by doing a poem. This
There
is
we go.
Machete
Perfect.
Mama.
What a
Machete
segue.
Mama, Machete Mama.
And for those who know me, I always say that this was inspired by my mother, who called me one day to say she couldn't find her favorite machete. Mama with a machete, skirt hitched up past her knees, chopping away at a city jungle with Bruce Lee's expertise. She's moved into a city, to a bungalow in town, and cracks coconuts between the eyes and wears orchids in her crown. Still the tiger she ever was, though the machete is used for cooking. Coconut, ginger, and garlic too. It's steamy in her kitchen. But she never dreams of island life. The pond was too small there. In the city, she grows a banana tree. She's made her garden there.
We can't top that. That's the
So,
perfect cap right there.
yeah, so I remember when I was writing this poem, you know, it was very pretty, and I was gonna have, you know, the narrator, my mother, and me combined, just like lamenting how nice it was living on the island. But I thought, you know what? That's not true. Because after living on the islands for so long, I was stir crazy. You know, I was from, you know, I grew up in Chicago. I needed city life. I needed you know, the arts. So after a while, you know, even as a chef, on my days off, I would go to other restaurants, and we all had the same vendors. We had the same, you know, fruits and things that we were cooking. So then even the food started all looking alike in all the high top tier restaurants. So I'm like, oh man, I love the islands, and I to this day I miss it, but wow, I am a city girl. So
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so that was also, that poem was also about like my mother coming from the Philippines and not being able to get everything. So she would, you know, she would get the seeds for bok choy, which back then you couldn't just go to Kroger, you know,
Right.
Safeway and get bok choy. They didn't have that kind of stuff. So they would so she would grow her garden wherever we were. So
For our
yeah.
audience that doesn't know what bok choy is, it's a green leafy plant. It's sectional, so it's like an artichoke. You can pull off,
Yeah.
uh, and kind of like celery too, but bigger. Yeah, it's a green plant. You can look it up on the internet. It's very tasty actually. Um, one of my favorite things in Chinese cuisine.
Yeah, and she used to grow some really exotic plants. And there's this one, it's called an opo, O-P-O, and it's a squash. And it grows really long. It's like a, you know, 5 feet long. And
Wow.
she had it on a trellis, and they were all growing down. And we would have people knocking on our door to say, I saw your your gourds hanging off your trellis. What are those? Yeah, they
No,
look very bizarre.
I was making a face because I was trying to remember the name of the bitter cucumber that they had in China that I didn't really like.
The bitter melon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head though. But I was like, no, no, I don't like that. It looks like a cucumber, but it has lumps on it.
Yeah, yeah, the
There's
bitter
bumps all over
melon.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
don't know any other Asian names for it.
they love it. I couldn't stand it. You know, the name will come to me right after the show stops. That's the way it usually is.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your life with us, telling us a little bit about who you are and where you got to where you are, and sharing some music and some poetry with us. So lovely. I was wanting to get you on the show for so long, and I'm so glad we got you on the show
Yeah.
finally.
Thank you for having me, and good luck to your show.
There she
And
is.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sylvia. I mean, it's just always a joy to be around you, and I hope to be face to face with you. And I know that everyone who has met you face to face has said that your presence, your aura, your spirit is just so healing to be around, so positive. So
You're
I'm
quite an
really,
interviewer yourself. I mean, you've interviewed
that's right. Yes.
Chom Cheshire and
yeah,
Bob Bob Ross and Phipps. I mean, yeah, you're quite the interviewer yourself. I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, I'll do that. That can happen. But
Yeah.
yes, thank you again, everybody, and Renee for inspiring me to write that poem that made me cry on air.
I know. And thank you for singing Cairo in front of camels.
Will
Because
be clamped.
that makes me
Will be
cry all the
clamped.
time just thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it.
Oh, Bethy Allen. Oh, I'm just
Yeah,
now seeing these comments.
she's
Oh, thank
here.
you everyone
Mama
for
SPF is
watching.
here. We love you,
Yeah.
Bethy. We were
Yes,
talking
thank you
about
so much for
SPF
being here, and
earlier.
thank you everybody for watching.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. And Sylvia, how can people follow you if they're just finding you right now? How
Oh,
do they
I'm on
follow you?
Instagram. Instagram at Silvia on the ukulele, and that's Silvia with 2 I's. If you don't spell my name right, you'll never find me. And that's ukulele with 2 U's. So yeah, Silvia on the ukulele. And then once you get to my Instagram, I have a website and it lists all my different projects.
Yep, no Y's, no Y's. I always get it wrong.
Yes,
I always want to put the Y in there and I say 2 I's, 2 I's,
Yes,
learned
2
that one a
2
long
I's.
time
I's,
ago.
2 I's. There you go, no Y's. So thank you so much. Yeah, I can
Institute
listen.
De Niro, I got 2 eyes on you right now. 2 eyes on you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. And we have Orchid Times tomorrow at 7 p.m. So don't miss out. And then Rory, are we doing Painting with Rory tomorrow night at 10:30?
We'll be doing Painting with Rory tomorrow night. Yes.
Okay.
And Tom Cheshire is going to be on It's Casual next week. He's also going to be on the Brig Monster Briefing Room day after tomorrow.
It's a triple
We're going to do the
header.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, it's a triple header because Rory was on Burn It Down, of course, last
Yes.
night. So we have Tom Cheshire 3 times in a row, which is so cool.
We love each other,
Yeah.
it's a love affair.
It's a wonderful thing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Sylvia, again. We love you.